What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Axel back in the building with another Pokemon video. We all have a favorite legendary Pokemon. Legendary Pokemon are quote-unquote legendary to the series. So I'm going to go through a list of different Pokemon that really stand out to me and some of my favorite legendaries across all 8 generations. Without further ado, let's get into this list. Alright, so let's get our legendary Pokemon tier list started up. As you can see, all of the legendary Pokemon beautifully laid out over here. But they're not in generation order, so I'm not going to try to rearrange them in generation order. I'm just going to go from top to bottom, go through the list of where these Pokemon are going to land and why they're landing in that position. So what Pokemon is this? I don't know if this is a blank spot or what's going on over there. So we have our tier ranking list. So S tier obviously being the highest that it can be ranked, and then F tier being the lowest that it could possibly be ranked. Now I'm going to base a lot of these decisions, one, obviously off personal preference, whether it's a specific memory I've had of that Pokemon, or, you know, when it comes to competitive viability, if I've used them in competitive play before. I've obviously not used too many legendaries in competitive, obviously for specific reasons. Most of them get banned anyway, so I kind of try to steer away from using legendary Pokemon. But let's just get into the list and kind of start putting people where they are. So first and foremost, we have the almighty Arceus himself. The god of all Pokemon, introduced in Generation 4. So I would put Arceus in the A tier, obviously being one of the cooler Pokemon, but not much of Arceus is really kind of spoken about or really gotten into in the Pokemon games, and I'm really hoping that these Diamond and Pearl remakes dive a little bit more into the lore of Arceus, how he is the creator of all Pokemon, the god of all Pokemon. Like, how do you top the god of all Pokemon? You know what I'm saying? So I want to put him in the A tier because I do feel that Arceus has a lot more potential than he already has. But super cool Pokemon, and I think just the premise of having a god Pokemon among everything else is really cool as well. Next, we have Articuno. Now, Articuno is going in the S tier, and this is one specifically because of a personal preference. So back in Pokemon Red and Blue version, I remember specifically finding Articuno and literally battling that Pokemon non-stop for I think it was like 3 days, because when I got to the Pokemon, I only had Pokeballs in my bag. I did not have any Ultra Balls, any Great Balls, anything else, just strictly Pokeballs. So saved in front of it and did not stop until I caught it. And I literally remember the last Pokeball that I had, I threw it out, you know, hit the Articuno and captured it on my last Pokeball, and it was one of the greatest experiences that I've ever had. Nicknamed him Artie Man because I was like 12 years old, 10 years old. I don't even know how old I was back then, but nicknamed him Artie Man, and then transferred the Articuno from game to game. So it's literally traveled since Pokemon Red and Blue, since Pokemon Red and Blue up into my current version of the game. So this Pokemon specifically holds a special place in this tier list because of that reason. Next, we have Azelf. So actually what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to put the entire Lake Trio together. So let me just find them. So there's Azelf, there's Mesprit, and then we have, where is, there he is, Uxie. So we're going to put Uxie. So the Lake Trio in general, they weren't the most spectacular Pokemon to me. I mean, the Lake Trio I think is, I'm sorry for the Lake Trio fans out there, but I think it's one of the more forgettable Pokemon that they've introduced in terms of legendary Pokemon. They really haven't capitalized on them, and they're obviously not really used in a lot of Pokemon merchandising in the games and stuff like that. So they're kind of sent to the back. We're going to get to the worst trio, and I think you guys know what the worst trio is going to be probably on this list, but I would put them in the C tier because they're not terrible, but they're also not the greatest. Next, we have Celebi. Celebi is going to go in the A tier as well, along with Arceus. Celebi is obviously one of the most iconic Pokemon, especially from the Johto region, Johto being one of the most popular regions in the Pokemon franchise, and I think Celebi just holds a really great place as a mythical Pokemon, you know, kind of counterparting Mew. You know, when we saw Celebi for the first time, we were like, oh, it's a grass version of a Mew. So it was really cool to see Celebi because at that time, it was brand new to us. We didn't know what a second generation of Pokemon is going to look like, and seeing Celebi for the first time was incredible. Alright, so now we have the next trio. So we're up to Cobalion. So I'm not going to put all of them in the C tier. I'm going to put Cobalion in C. I'm going to put Virizion, or Verizon, however you want to call it, in the C tier. And then I'm also going to put Terrakion up, but he's going to go in the B tier. Terrakian's super cool, just the design overall, and competitive wise he was really good to use back when I was using him in black and white. But I think Terrakion unfortunately has a little bit of an edge over Cobalion and Virizion in terms of my favorite legendary when it comes to that trio. And then we have Keldeo. Keldeo I'm going to put in the D tier. Sorry for Keldeo fans, but Keldeo just doesn't really stand out to me. I know they kind of gave Keldeo his spotlight in the Musketeers movie, but Keldeo just doesn't really stand out. And honestly, I tend to forget this Pokemon exists at times because the trio stands out to me a little bit more, and I feel like Keldeo was kind of like an afterthought. But Keldeo is going to hit the D tier for me in that sense. Next we have Cosmoem and Cosmog. So Cosmog I'm going to put in the B tier just because it's super cute, really cool. But it was really interesting to see that this was the first time that Pokemon has actually given an evolutionary line to legendary Pokemon, which we've never seen before. So Pokemon Sun and Moon introduced this for the first time. Cosmoem is going to go in the E tier because I feel like Cosmoem is just one of the most useless Pokemon in existence. It's just literally a bridge to gap Cosmog and Solgaleo and Lunala. Competitive wise, Pokemon does absolutely nothing. It has amazing defenses, but nothing that could really go from that. And since we're in the talks of Solgaleo and Lunala, Solgaleo is going to go in the S tier for me, as well as Lunala is going to go in the S tier for me. So when I first saw Pokemon Sun and Moon for the first time, when they leaked the logos, there was always the talks of what these Pokemon are going to look like, what are the legendary box art Pokemon are going to be, and I think they perfectly nailed what these Pokemon represent. Lunala looks perfect, and Shiny Lunala is one of my favorite shiny Pokemon. The Blood Moon looks beautiful with the crimson red. And Solgaleo, being a Psychic Steel type, threw me off. I mean, being the fire, the Sun legendary, I would expect it to be a fire type, which still throws me off to this day. But still, one of my favorite designs of any Pokemon ever is Solgaleo and Lunala, so they're easily going in the S tier. Next up, we have Cresselia. Cresselia, I feel, is also another kind of forgotten Pokemon. I mean, competitive-wise, Cresselia is really good. Tons of bulk, super bulky Pokemon, and it's very difficult to take out. But I think Cresselia overall is just not one of my favorite Pokemon. It's a beautiful Pokemon to look at, but it's just another one of those Pokemon that I tend to forget exists unless it's highlighted in like a Pokemon Go raid or just happens to be on somebody's competitive team. But Cresselia, unfortunately, is going to be a D tier for me. Darkrai, S tier, 100%. Darkrai is in my top 10 favorite Pokemon of all time. Darkrai is the pure evil. Like, when I think dark type Pokemon, I think Darkrai. Darkrai is the epitome of what a dark type Pokemon would look like, and just really embodies that typing and that look and that aesthetic. It's just a beautiful, beautiful design, beautiful Pokemon. And I put people through hell when I was using Darkrai and competitive with the Dream Eater. And just his ability overall was just amazing to use. Next we have Deoxys and all of his wacky forms. Deoxys I'm going to put, I would say B tier, and that's going to be for all of his different forms here. So you have the speed form, defense form, no, I'm sorry, this is the attack form, this is the defense form, this is the speed form, and this is just his normal form. I think the concept of Deoxys is really cool, introducing the DNA Pokemon. So he's considered extraterrestrial because he's an alien. So, there's a lot of things that Pokemon references. That there's alien Pokemon that are technically not from the Pokemon world. You have things like Clefairy, you have the Ultra Beast, you have Deoxys. So I think Deoxys is just really cool in that sense because of its lore, not being a Pokemon from the initial Pokemon world and being from a meteorite from space. So I think it's super cool that Deoxys is able to also transform. I think this was the first, because Deoxys was Generation 3, so I think this was the first time Pokemon really introduced forms for a Pokemon and giving one Pokemon in particular different forms that it could transform into. And I think this is a really cool way that they did that. Next we have Dialga and Palkia. So Dialga is going to go in the A tier for me, and Palkia is also going to go in the A tier for me. So Diamond and Pearl obviously is a hot topic right now. Diamond and Pearl remakes are a hot topic right now. So I'm really hoping that they explore Dialga and Palkia in a way that they did Kyogre and Groudon when they did the Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire remakes, and give them those primal forms. So Primal Dialga technically exists, but it's not canon per se. But I do hope that they look and revisit these Pokemon and give them a really cool form to really make these Diamond and Pearl remake games something spectacular. So we have Diancie next, and I'm sorry, Diancie's going in the E tier for me. Not a fan of Diancie. It's weird because it's like technically not an evolution, but it's a Carbink that was mutated to become a Diancie. So it was just really weird to kind of think like in Pokemon lore, you would think if something's mutated from an original form, it's technically an evolution, but Diancie just doesn't do it for me. Not a fan of the design. Definitely not a fan of the Mega Evolution either. I actually forget Diancie has a Mega Evolution. I think it's probably one of the most useless Mega Evolutions that they've ever created. So Diancie is going to be in the E tier for me. Alright, so next we have Entei, which is going to lead us into the Legendary Beasts, Legendary Dogs, whatever you want to consider it. Entei is going in the A tier for me because Entei and the Pokemon Third movie was a beautiful movie. Perfect follow-up to Pokemon 2000. I think the first 3 Pokemon movies is really where they nailed just, you know, the Pokemon's, you know, characteristics and appearances and all of that. So Entei is going to go in the A tier for me. Raikou is going to go in the A tier for me because beautiful Pokemon. It's a really cool design. Like I think Raikou is still one of the most unique looking Pokemon that we've seen in a while. It's like a saber-toothed tiger mixed with like friggin' Zeus, which is really cool. And then we have Suicune. That's Tapu Bulu, that's not Suicune. Suicune's going in the S tier. Suicune is definitely an S tier Pokemon for me. Suicune obviously being the cover mascot of Pokemon Crystal. Pokemon Crystal being one of my favorite games of all time. And Suicune in general is just so majestic. When you see that Pokemon and its ribbons flying and its hair flying and it's able to walk on water, like, it is gorgeous Pokemon. Absolutely gorgeous Pokemon. S tier 100%. Next we have Genesect. Genesect is going in the D tier. Another Pokemon that I'm not a big fan of. It was so funny when they released the Pokemon as a download for Pokemon Black 2 and White 2, and you had a Genesect starting your journey in a brand new Pokemon game. Could you imagine that first gym leader seeing a Genesect on that friggin' team? What the heck was going on? Like, that was OP to the max. So Genesect overall design is not so great. Honestly, I think it's nothing too appealing for me, but Genesect will be in the D tier. Now we have Giratina. Giratina is going in the A tier. Super cool Pokemon. And I think it's really cool to see a counterpart because if you think about it, obviously Arceus is the god of all Pokemon, and he banished Giratina into the Distortion World. Distortion World being Pokemon's version of Hell, and Giratina technically being Pokemon's version of Hades, or the devil, or whatever you want to call it. So Giratina, I just have this thing for pure evil Pokemon or dark Pokemon. I don't know what it is. I just love that. So Giratina is going to go in the A tier just for the simple fact of being a pure evil and just chaotic Pokemon. Next we have the Tapus. So Tapu are pretty popular from the Sun and Moon series, but contrary to a lot of people's opinions, Tapu Bulu is going to be in the B tier for me. I know Tapu Bulu is probably one of the least popular out of the Tapus, but I think Tapu Bulu's design is awesome, especially when it closes up and it's like a bull. And I think it's just that stance. It just looks like it's ready for action, ready to fight. It's like, come at me, bro. Like, whatever you wanted to do, Tapu Bulu is ready to go at any moment's notice. Tapu Lele is going to go in the C tier. Tapu Lele was really good competitive wise. I used Tapu Lele on Psychic Terrain for quite some time. Super powerful Pokemon. Special attack is astronomical, but overall not the biggest fan of Tapu Lele out of the Tapus themselves. Tapu Koko is going in the S tier. Love Tapu Koko. Love the guardian aspect of it. It protects its island. It protects the people of Alola. And just to look at Tapu Koko, I think they nailed perfectly, giving it that kind of like thunder bird kind of look, especially when it closes up. And Tapu Koko in general, like if you play Pokemon Sword and Shield and you have Tapu Koko in the Pokemon camp, just its animations and how like jittery and like crazy it looks, absolutely love it. Tapu Koko is going to be S tier 100%. And last but not least, we have Tapu Fini, who's also going to go in the C tier along with Tapu Lele. Not the biggest fan of Tapu Fini. Not a terrible design, but just not a big fan of it. Alright, so now we're hitting Groudon. So we obviously have the primal forms. What I'm going to do is I'm not going to include primal forms. I'm not going to include, for instance, here, like we have the Black Kyurem, White Kyurem, because they're technically just alternate forms of the other Pokemon. I say that and I already have Deoxys here. So what we are going to do is we're going to include the primal forms. So we're going to put Groudon in the B tier as well. So we're going to put his primal form in there as well. And then Kyogre we're going to put in the C tier, because the C basin or bassin Pokemon. So Groudon obviously being the box art for Ruby, Kyogre obviously being the box art for Sapphire. I was a Pokemon Ruby player for a long time, and I had a best friend at the time who had Pokemon Sapphire, and he had his Kyogre, and obviously Kyogre has the type advantage over Groudon. So when we battled, his Kyogre would constantly beat my Groudon, and I was getting very annoyed, and it just put this hate, I wouldn't say hatred, but it's put this disliking to Kyogre for a little bit, and that's just been stuck in my memory for a while, and that's why I kind of put Kyogre always a little bit under Groudon. So wherever Groudon stands, Kyogre is going to be a little bit under him. So Kyogre is going to be in the C tier, and Groudon's going to be in the B tier. We got Heatran. Heatran I'm going to put in the D category. Once again, just not overall, just not a great Pokemon design. Just not a, I mean, typing wise, phenomenal. The Steel typing obviously giving a lot of defensive viability, but hit with a ground type attack, this Pokemon is wiped off the slate, wiped off Earth, whatever you want to call it. This Pokemon does not take ground type moves very well, but overall just not really a pleasing design to me. Ho-Oh, A tier. Love Ho-Oh. Obviously Ho-Oh's first appearance in the Pokemon anime, the very first Pokemon episode when Ho-Oh was flying over the rainbow. It was one of the most incredible scenes to see as a kid, and at that time we didn't know who Ho-Oh was. So when Ho-Oh was revealed as the mascot for Pokemon Gold, it was just crazy to know that the very first Pokemon episode, we already saw a Generation 2 Pokemon, and that's why Pokemon like Ho-Oh have such a lasting impression. Ho-Oh, you know, comes to counterpart. Lugia, top 10 favorite Pokemon for me. Absolutely beautiful Pokemon. There's nothing that tops that second movie. Pokemon 2000 is my favorite Pokemon movie, hands down. And when we look back at it, just the sheer power, the sheer aura of Lugia is just unmatched to me personally to this day. Like, I feel like Lugia, aside from Mew and Mewtwo, I feel like Lugia was the true way to represent a legendary Pokemon. A Pokemon that was deep in the depths of the ocean, that can only be awakened when 3 of the legendary birds show up, and is the guardian of the sea, and the way it whirlpools all the way up and then pops out. Like, that was one of the best scenes to ever see as a kid. Absolutely loved Lugia. My favorite game is Pokemon Silver, and to this day Lugia is still just an incredible Pokemon, and it's one of the most unique Pokemon because Lugia is one of the only Pokemon that is not made by Game Freak. So now we're getting to Hoopa. Ale Hoopa. If you guys seen the Hoopa movie, that's what he sounds like. Hoopa is going to go in the D tier, and that's going to be for his Unbound form and for his regular form. I think I did years ago, I did a top 10 most over-designed Pokemon, and Hoopa Unbound was definitely in there. When you look at Hoopa Unbound, if you're not really into Pokemon, or you don't follow the series as deep as most of us do, you would definitely not look at that at first appearance and think as a Pokemon. It definitely looks like something from a completely different anime. Super evil looking at that. But I think Hoopa Unbound is probably one of my least favorite designs overall, and Hoopa in general is just, once again, one of those forgettable Pokemon for me. Jirachi is going to go in the B tier. Now, don't get me wrong, love Jirachi, but still, in terms of the mythical Pokemon, it's definitely not standing against Pokemon like Mew and Celebi, but Jirachi still overall is really cool. I think in Ruby and Sapphire, it had a really cool kind of story and myth to it to find a Jirachi in the game, but I think they kind of slept on Jirachi for the past couple of years and really haven't brought it into the spotlight, even though it's had its 4th movie. But I think Jirachi deserves a little bit more love. All right, so now we're getting to Kyurem. So we have the black and white Kyurem here, so I'm gonna start with Zekrom and Reshiram first. So Zekrom's gonna go in the A tier for me, and then Reshiram is going to go into the A tier as well. So both of these Pokemon pretty dope. Absolutely love them. Obviously cover box art Pokemon, but I think Zekrom and Reshiram are absolutely perfectly designed. I think when you look at Majestic Dragons, that yin-yang effect, I think they did it perfectly. Zekrom being a dragon electric and Reshiram being dragon fire, you don't necessarily look at them immediately and think that. You would think like maybe dragon dark and maybe, I don't know, flying dragon, with Reshiram. But I think the fact that you look at them and don't initially know exactly what type they are at first glance is what makes them even more cool. So Zekrom and Reshiram definitely going to be in that. When it comes to their alternative forms. Black and white Kyurem are going in the E tier. I think they honestly look horrendous monstrosities. They kind of look like Frankenstein creations similar to the Galar fossils. And that's also going to go and put Kyurem in the D tier. Definitely not a fan of it. I know it's supposed to be like the husk of the original dragon after it's split, but not a fan of Kyurem and not a fan of its fused forms. Alright, and that concludes part 1 of the Legendary Pokemon tier list. Make sure to subscribe, like, and comment if you have not, and stay tuned for part 2 to finish off and see where the rest of these legendary Pokemon rank on my tier list. And with that being said, Axel signing out.